We mentioned at the beginning of the program the corporates that have lined up. Today it was Qantas to support the yes case in the voice referendum, and we got a lot of opinion about that. It looks like October 14 might now be the date. It's not been confirmed, but it's strongly headed that way. Now, the Liberal Party and the Nats have been very consistent in their messaging opposing the voice. They seem now, though, to be split on what should happen next. Now, Peter Dutton has pledged to legislate local and regional voices. Nationals leader David Littleproud has a different idea, and he joins me now from Canberra. Great to catch up with you again. Are you in Canberra?
No, in Melbourne, sadly, mate, but just the same if you're not in the bush.
Exactly. I wanted to say, tell you that I drove from Melbourne to Sydney yesterday up the Hume, and I got to Glenrowan, and I looked out to my right-hand side and I saw this paddock absolutely covered in solar panels. So when I stopped at the servo up the road, I Googled that joint. They're going to put in 376,000 solar panels over 365 hectares to power 41,000 houses in that area. That's what we're in store for right around the country, isn't it?
Yeah, this is pure insanity. This reckless race to 83% renewables by 2030 has consequences. If you don't pause, you don't plan this properly, this is what happens. Not only do you see remnant vegetation knocked down for all this to happen, not just for the solar panels and the wind towers, but also the transmission lines, the 28,000 kilometres of transmission lines to plug all this stuff in. And you take away your food security and you drive up your cost of food because this is going against prime agricultural land. And that actually goes to the very heart of where this essence of the problem that Chris Bowen has put us in. This reckless race to achieve net zero by 2030, rather than just pausing, planning properly, looking at new technology like nuclear that can come into this by 2050, and we can live up to our international commitments because we've got sovereignty of all our resources. And we don't need to tear up remnant vegetations and 28,000 kilometres of new transmission lines because you can plug it in where existing lines are. That's common sense. That's what the Nationals take to Canberra. That's what we've said to the Prime Minister. Please pause. Otherwise, the unintended consequences are not just natural habitat being taken out, it's prime agricultural land which takes away our food security and drives up your food price. And our farmers are pretty upset, and they'll show that tomorrow on the steps of Melbourne and next week in Brisbane.
Can I just ask you to briefly explain the difference between the Nationals' position on what happens if the voice referendum fails and the Liberal position on that?
Well, let's just take a deep breath. It hasn't failed yet. There's a big campaign that needs to take place to make sure Australians understand what they're signing up to and the risks that they're signing up to, and that there's a better way. We don't need a bigger bureaucracy, we need a better bureaucracy. And the Nationals took a principled position back in November last year to oppose this. What we're saying is, let's just make sure that we don't create a bigger bureaucracy. We just need a better one. We need a 2023 intervention, and that's at the bureaucracy, getting them out of Canberra and sitting them around at local levels, empowering local elders, making sure that they're listening to them and creating local programs. Because we know to the postcode where the gap is and in what areas it needs to be closed. So why don't we devise the local programs? Now, we're just saying at a regional level, we haven't disagreed, but we want to see what the detail is. I think Peter Dutton comes with this genuine intent as well. If this was just about constitutional recognition, I think you'll find that the Nationals party room would sign up to that. If this is about a better bureaucracy, how we do that is the question. If that's given to us in a salient way that we can work through, then we believe in the primacy of our party room. It's not for me to decide one way or another, but when we get to that juncture, then we'll work through that. We're committed to closing the gap. There's a better way than what we're doing at the moment, but the voice is repeating the mistakes of the past. It's nothing new. It's the same thing we had last time, and we have the lived experience of that. So I just say to people in capital cities, when they look down their nose at the Nats, we're the ones that cop the consequence of the last time we had a representative body. Big regions don't work because small communities miss out. This is where you've got to go town hall by town hall. And I'm sure that the relationship that Peter Dutton and I have and the Liberal Party has, that when we get to that juncture, if we get to that juncture, we'll work through a pragmatic, common sense way to deliver services and the $4.3 billion of money that's delivered to Indigenous Australians every year in a better way. Firstly, we need an audit of how it's spent, and then secondly, how we do it better. And I'm sure between Peter and I and the Liberal Party and the National Party, we'll be able to achieve that if we use common sense rather than ideology. And there is no argument, there is no differentiation. We're simply working through what will come after the vote, but you don't take anything for granted. There's still a big campaign over the next 2 months, and that's what we're focused on.